All right, good morning, Chase Oaks. Good to see everybody. And whether you're here for the long time or you've been here for the first time, met some first timers today, really so glad to have you. And I want to welcome those at Legacy, but also those at our campuses like Woodbridge and Sloan Creek, those of you who are online in Espanol. And we're just kind of one big happy family here. Now today we are going to start a new series, but before we do, I want to share something with you as a way to say thank you for your generosity in our church that extends to our community. And because that's, God has us here He wants to, through us, demonstrate love to those around us and connect people to Him. And one way that happens is through our family center in East Plano. And you may not be aware of what happens over there, but you can go online and look about it. You're more than welcome to get involved. It'd be awesome. Our family center is just off of the downtown area in East Plano, serving that whole neighborhood there. And there are people all over the world that God has brought right into that area for us to love and reach out to. And one of those people who is involved in our English as a second language and citizenship classes and different things that are helping there, they came here from Iraq, or in the process of navigating life here and learning the language and all this. Muslim gentleman, very curious about Jesus. And in fact, he was here Friday night. I didn't know he was going to be here, but they come. And but he wrote a note to say thank you to Julissa Estrada, who's the kind of the rock star staff person, leader who leads what all that happens at the Family Center. I just want to share it with you. Happy Valentine's Day. This day reminds us that love is patient, kind, a glimpse of eternity. It bridges any distance and breaches any barriers. It comforts our aching hearts. With true love comes no doubts, no jealousy, no worries. Love, we think about it, sing about it, dream about it, lose sleep worrying about it. When we don't have it, we search for it. When we discover it, we don't know what to do with it. When we have it, we fear losing it. It is the constant source of pleasure and pain, but we can't predict which it will be from one moment to the next. It is a short word, easy to spell, difficult to define, and impossible to live without. Chase Oaks Family Center serves the community by offering a safe place for individuals to experience education and personal transformation. This is free of charge. And not only that, they provide breakfast every day and celebrate all events. They let us feel as if we're at home. Everyone motivates us to become better students. They show us the potential we don't see in ourselves. Ms. Julissa Estrada is one member of that team. She's very active among them. She motivates me to become a better student and supported me while I was in need. She's very helpful with everything. The period before Chase Oaks Family Center was quite stressful for me. I was obsessed with learning English. I was so obsessed, I had a serious headache. I stuck to reading books, watching English TV, and listening to the radio. I used my cell phone day and night and never stopped reading, writing, listening until I achieved my goal. Now I feel over the moon. I'm looking forward to becoming an American citizen. Was it hard to get success? Yes, it was hard, especially in the beginning. But the very key of success is to work hard and try your best, and everything good will come to you. Thank you, Ms. Julissa, for all your efforts, and happy Valentine's Day. God bless you and your family always. Isn't that cool? And that's our privilege, is to love people that God brings to us in our community. And so thank you for your generosity overall, and for all of you who are involved in our family center specifically as well. So today we are starting a new series on this Old Testament book called Ecclesiastes, a really cool book. I've been looking forward to this series for a while. And the title of the series is Enjoy Responsibly. Dilly dilly. That's pretty good. Way better than Friday night. Let's try it again. Enjoy responsibly. Dilly dilly. Way better. Balcony will get you too, or the risers here at Legacy. I hope you're doing it at the campuses. It's, I think it's really easy to assume that the Bible, especially depending on how you grew up, the kind of church you grew up in, is kind of an anti-enjoyment book. Like the church I got involved in eventually as a kid, There were some people a little bit like that, treated the Bible kind of like the rule book, and they had their whistles. They were like the referees that if something got too fun, there's got to be something in here somewhere, so we can't do that, right? And maybe you grew up in that situation, but that's not what this is, and we'll see that God actually really wants us to enjoy life and enjoy it to the full. One of the complications of that is that you and I live in a world, we live in an environment that is hard to find fulfillment, joy, significance, and all that very long because it's broken. The Bible lets us know that we are created for perfection. God created us to live in the Garden of Eden. He created us to live in paradise. But when mankind chose sin, then this world is partly good, but now futility runs through all of it. It's like in the book of Romans, Paul describes it this way. He says, for all creation was subjected to frustration, futility. Anybody have a frustrating week this week? Not by its own choice, but by the will of the one who subjected it, humanity. That when Adam and Eve chose sin, when mankind chose sin, now futility, frustration runs through everything. It's not that it's all bad, but there's this frustration and futility that runs through it. And sometimes you feel the frustration and the pain of life in a fallen world. Other times it's good, it's not bad, it's good, and yet never quite good enough. Never quite as good as it should be, or never quite as fulfilling as it should be. It's kind of like when I was 18 years old, I spent a summer in Europe, and it was a mission trip. I was based in Vienna, Austria, going into Eastern Europe back when the Iron Curtain was still up. But we were based in Vienna, and therefore in Vienna, I didn't realize this, but there are a lot of things that look like this, and Viennese pastries. And as a chocolate lover, it was just like awesome. And as an 18-year-old, you can eat whatever you want. And it's just like, oh man, I can't wait. And I remember going to a place and getting my first Viennese pastry like that and thinking, oh, this is gonna be like the best moment of my life. This chocolate explosion, like all over, it's just gonna be awesome. And because it looked awesome. And I bit into it and took that first bite, and you know what? There was no explosion. It was like a dud. It didn't taste like anything. You ever had a dessert like that looks awesome? It doesn't taste, and I finished it, of course. And then I ate another one another day, and another day, and they look so awesome over there. But what I found out in Europe, like all the sugar and fat and calories we stuff into everything here, they haven't picked up on that over there, So they know how to make it look good. It just doesn't have much oomph to it. There's no there. And what Solomon is going to say is life in a fallen world can kind of be that way. And that's why even when you get everything you want, you actually still want more. You think, oh man, if I just get that house, if I just get that couch, if I just get that wife or that husband, or if I just get the unwife or unhusband, or if I just get that children, or if I just, become an empty nester, or if I just, get that job or that promotion and, that car or whatever, then I'll be set. It'll all be like, And of course, that's not true, right? The moment we think, we just want something else. It doesn't fully satisfy. Just like reminds me of another food story in my life. This was when I was in graduate school, Dallas Theological Seminary, which was like graduate school for theology. And my wife was working, and I was there. We weren't making much money at all, and we didn't have much money to spend, therefore. And so going out to eat was a big deal. Like, we just didn't do that very much. And I don't mean like a fancy place. We didn't even think about that. I mean going out to eat like at Chick-fil-A. That was like our Valentine's awesomeness, to go to Chick-fil-A, and which is not bad. I mean, that's really pretty awesome. But my dream, I thought, oh man, life could get no better than this if at that time was to get to a place where I could afford to go to Chick-fil-A and order all the chicken nuggets I could eat. I'd be like, then I made it. It's just that would be awesome. And I figured, I was 22 then. I figured I'll have to wait until I'm 50 or something. When you're so old, you don't even have teeth anymore to eat the nuggets, right? That's what I am now. But that's kind of what I thought, except it actually happened for me at 22. Here's what happened. Christy, my wife, helped organize a fundraiser for something, and Chick-fil-A, being who they are, donated all these big trays of nuggets to that fundraiser, and then it was in the winter, and winter weather came in, and they had everything set up, but had to cancel the fundraiser, which was terrible for the fundraiser, but was awesome for me, because I had all the chicken nuggets I could eat. And it was awesome, like 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40. I probably got up to around 50 or 60. And it got a little unawesome after a while. And because even as awesome thing about that, like even the good things, like can become not so good, too much of a good thing, right? And they never quite satisfy the way, and that's what Solomon is gonna talk about in the book. He goes on this search because he is a person, Solomon, who wrote Ecclesiastes, was the king of Israel at the peak of Israel's power. They were a superpower in the world back then. And he had extreme wealth and extreme power and notoriety. I mean, everything was at his disposal. Every pleasure, everything, anything he wanted. And he's got everything anybody could ever want. And he comes to this moment where you're like, it's really not that great. In life really, and so he's searching through all this thing to find it. And what he learns is that futility actually runs through everything. But he does come to a conclusion. And that conclusion helps us understand how to enjoy life in a broken, fallen world and enjoy it to the full. This world that's partly good and partly bad, partly meaningful, partly futile, partly beautiful, partly ugly. It's what I call navigating the ugly beautiful. And he's going to help us out. And this is going to be really encouraging for you today if you are frustrated in life. If you know more of the ugly side of life than the beautiful side of life, and you're like, what do I do with that? And why is life like this? Today's going to be encouraging for you. Others of you know more about the beauty side of life, beautiful side of life. If you're honest, you'd be like, you know what? My life's pretty good. Here in North Dallas, where there's a lot of money and all that, I think there's a lot of people like that who'd say, my life's good. It could be better. Sure, it's not perfect, but even if I don't have God, life's pretty good. I got my boat, I got my job, I got my, whatever. Life's pretty good. And if the frustrated people today are going to feel better, for those who are kind of in that category, like, no, I'm good. What Solomon's going to do is make you feel worse today. And so if you came to church to feel better, sorry. It'll eventually happen, but he's going to break you down, going to break us down a little bit to say, it's actually not really that good. He's going to kind of just help us become aware of the nakedness and emptiness of life in a fallen world. So, and then what to do about it. So we're going to be in Ecclesiastes. It's in the Old Testament. You can look in your app on your phone or tablet or whatever, or if you have a physical Bible around, you can grab that too. And in the structure of the book of Ecclesiastes, it starts in chapter 1, where he gives his hypothesis. After living a lot of life, this is what I think about life as I've experimented with everything. That's not his conclusion, though. He's going to conclude it in chapter 12. So today, in the introduction to this series, we're going to look at chapter 1, chapter 12. In the middle is his search, like as he looks at all these different areas of life. And so in this series, we're going to be looking at major areas of life and learning about how to make those better and the ugly beautiful. But first, he starts with his hypothesis. And here's his hypothesis about life here. The words of the teacher, son of David, that's Solomon, king in Jerusalem. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher, utterly meaningless. Everything in this world is meaningless. Isn't that great? Don't you feel better already? Everything is meaningless. Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. Very good. Way better than Friday night. They kept saying the wrong words and all kinds of stuff. So everything is meaningless. So this is actually a metaphorical translation here more than a literal one from the Hebrew that it was originally written in the Old Testament. And the word literally is vapor. It's like, it's something that looks solid like fog, like we had this morning, but not very solid. It's like a cloud that can look solid. We know about clouds because we fly and everything, so we kind of know what clouds are. But imagine if you lived in a remote area. Like we have a church planting project in northwest Ethiopia among the Gumus people that have been up until now totally remote from anything Western. So imagine you grew up in that area, you've never even thought about being in an airplane or even what that would be about, and you get in an airplane, some missionary or whatever gets you in there, and so you're flying and you can't believe you're flying, and you've seen these white clouds, and and you're a little freaked out because the pilot is getting closer and closer to one of those clouds. And if you hit that cloud, you're going to crash. It's going to be terrible, right? You're going to go bam. You can't do it. So you start screaming, stop, what are you doing? No, no. And then you hit the cloud, and what happens? Poof, right? Nothing happens. And you're like, oh, okay. I thought that was something. It was a bunch of nothing. And what Solomon is saying is that's what life in this world, in a fallen world, it may look like something, all these things that we draw meaning from, but it's actually a bunch of nothing when you really try to grab it. Now he's going to prove that. He's going to keep going. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun, life on this planet? Like billions of people, blood, sweat, and tears every day of their life, and what do they have in the end to show for it? And the implication is not a whole lot, a bunch of nothing. It says generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. Meaning you and I mean, we'll be here for a little bit, but the world's going to go on without us. We think we're a big deal, but we're not. The sun rises and the sun sets. Here he's going to talk about the cyclical nature of life. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. Every day the same thing. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea. Yet the sea's never full. It never accomplishes anything. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. He's talking about the cyclical nature of life, how all of life is a circle. It's like life on this planet, he's saying, is like riding on a stationary bike, thinking we're going from here to Alaska. And we're not going anywhere because we're on a stationary bike. We're just spinning our wheels with life. Life is cyclical. Every day we just repeat the same old stuff, same old, same old, same old. Think about that. Like just think about the typical North Dallas person. I don't know when you wake up in the morning, when your phone wakes you up or your alarm wakes you up. Let's say 6:30. Some of you are like, how can anybody get up that early? Some people would be like, I'd love to sleep until 6:30, right? But let's just say 6:30. So your alarm goes off at 6:30. Beep, beep, beep. Get out of bed. And you're groggy, stumble your way into the bathroom, do what you do there, get ready for the day. Maybe you have kids, and if you have kids, then you got to get them breakfast, and you got to get them ready for school, let's say, and wherever they go. And then maybe on your way to work, you drop them off at school, get through all that. Then you have to get through a bunch of traffic, frustrating, but you finally get to work, and you go into work, log on your computer, start your meeting, start dealing with issues, start selling what you're selling, or just whatever you're doing. You do that all through the day, 6:30, whenever it is, you're like, oh man, time to quit and go home. You fight traffic, but if you have kids, you probably don't go home unless you're just picking them up to take them somewhere else, or you just meet wherever that is, and you get some food along the way somewhere through some drive-through, and you do whatever you're doing. Everybody gets home later than you really want to, but it is what it is. Get the kids ready for bed, watch a little TV, fall asleep. Next morning, 6:30, beep, 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 beep. The next morning, beep, 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 beep. Next morning, beep, beep. Starts all over again and again. And every once in a while, you get a Saturday. Every once in a while, you get a week in Florida. But other than that, beep, 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 over and over. You just say you don't get anywhere. Don't you feel better about your life already? And then, or another illustration is the diaper cycle. If you have little babies, how long does a clean diaper last? You think, oh yeah, I've just changed him. Life's good, right? But the thing with the diaper thing is if you feed them, they're not going to last long, right? And you'll just do it over and over and over and over again. And that's what Solomon is saying, is life is just so wearisome and you're not actually getting anywhere. He also is going to say the eye never has enough of seeing, nor the ear is full of hearing. We're never really satisfied. And then he's going to shift and say, and really, there's actually nothing new. We think there's all this new stuff. It's actually nothing is really new in this world to get all excited about. Why get excited? Because it's not even new. He says, what has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. is there anything of which one can really say, look, this is something new? It was here already long ago. It was here before our time. Same old problems, same old issues we've been dealing with for centuries. Yeah, we have some new technology, some new stuff, but of anything significant, it's just the same old stuff. Like we live in this culture, the most advanced culture in the history of cultures, and United States of America, great place to be. And we think we've kind of arrived at this place where, oh man, we're so advanced. And yet we have weeks like this week with the violence in the school in Florida. And you realize that so far this year, if you averaged it out, there's been a school shooting once a week for every week in 2018. And somehow we think, oh no, we're beyond that. Or the way people treat each other, injustice, racism, all this stuff going on. And we just keep repeating the same, it's like nothing new. And oh no, there's some new leader that's and not really. There's some new idea and Solomon is just saying it's just the same old, over and over again in this world. Dilly-dilly. It's getting hard to do that. And then he says, no one remembers the former generations, and even those yet to come will not be remembered by those who follow them. There are people who are big shots in our world. We can name the biggest big shots, but the truth is, a couple generations from now, nobody's going to know who they are. Nobody's ever going to think about them. I'm just like me as pastor of this church at Chase Oaks. Let's say this week I got hit by a bus and died. Gone. Happened. And thanks for not saying dilly-dilly like Friday night. Dilly-dilly. Yeah, thanks. But let's say that happens, all right? And I'm a goner. Well, okay, for a week or two, it'd be kind of a big deal around Chase Oaks Church, right? Just because I'm up here all the time, all that. You're like, oh, I wonder who's going to speak next week. It'd be kind of like, I guess not Jeff because he's, whatever. And then about some months later, a year later, whatever, people would still probably ask about me every once in a while. Hey, you remember that guy? I can't remember his name. He's a kind of goofy guy talked about Alabama all the time, George or something. I don't know, but and then a year after that, nobody even be doing that, right? It'd be like I'd never existed. The church would go on. The church would flourish. The church would be reaching its mission in this community without me, and everything would just be going on like I never was here. Right? And that's reality. And that's what Solomon is saying. So Solomon in the end is saying, well, that's why his hypothesis is what it is, that life on this planet is meaningless. It's a bunch of nothing. And that's why if you even the best things, if that's what we're looking to for life, it's just never enough because futility runs through it all. And he has this major aha moment that's like, oh, crud, is that reality? Now, maybe you've had those kind of moments in your life, those major, oh, crud, like, really? Is this all there is? Or I thought it would be way better than this, or I thought it'd be way different than this. One of my mentors, I'd call him a mentor friend, is a pastor in Chicago. And he grew up he had one of these major aha moments in his life when he was 16. He grew up in a home with a dad that was a real eccentric guy, entrepreneur, wealthy guy, very impulsive. And he had this idea that the best gift he could give his kids was not stuff, but experiences, especially seeing the world. So they would do things like he would get a little bit of time and he would show up at school, check all the kids out of school. They would go to the airport. Nobody's packed anything, mom, dad, kids. And they would go to the airport and say, hey, we're going to go somewhere. Let's go for a week. And everybody gets a vote. Look at all the departures. And anybody ever been to Portugal? Why not Portugal? Let's try Portugal. And they'd figure out clothes and all that. Be kind of a fun way to grow up, right? So when he was 16, it's his birthday, and his dad gives him his birthday gift. Now he's 16, what's he thinking? Car, right? That's not what he got. So gave him this big packet. In this packet are all these plane tickets and all these hotel reservations to spend the summer seeing every major city in South America. And he's like, how about a car? I want to go to South America. But he's in South America, and one of those cities was Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He's on Copacabana Beach. It is so beautiful there. I got to go there when I was 16 as well with my parents, and it's just beautiful, crazy beautiful bay and area and all that. So he's at that place at a 5-star hotel, He has to eat dinner, so he's like, oh, I guess I don't know what to do, so I guess I'll just go up at the hotel. So he goes up top floor of the hotel of this 5-star resort, Copacabana Beach, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Beautiful. He's overlooks all that. He's eating his meal, and at the table next to him is this older couple. And the man looks at his wife and says, honey, just look out over that bay because we finally made it. Like, we've arrived. All the sacrifice, all these years, all the work, all the struggle, it is worth it. Here we are, Rio de Janeiro, Copacabana Beach. It doesn't get better than this. This is it. And as a 16-year-old, my friend was like, oh, crud. Because if this is it, and if this is arriving, I've already peaked at 16. Like, now what am I gonna do for the next 60 years? Like, if this is it, then, and the other part of that is, honestly, if this is it, I mean, it's nice, but it's not that nice. It's good, but it's not great. And if this is the peak of existence, if this is what life's about, then I'm in trouble. And that really was life-changing for him because it got him on this search for, okay, there's got to be more to it than this, because this isn't much. There's got to be more to it than this. And that's really the book of Ecclesiastes, as Solomon is on that same search. Now, his hypothesis is life is meaningless with that search. And if that's where it ended up, this would be a really depressing series, right? We look at all these different areas of life and say, yeah, meaningless, it's not worth anything. But that's not the point of the book. That's not the conclusion of the book. Because after his search, it takes him a while, but here's his conclusion. And this is where we'll begin to get help on how to find meaning, how to find enjoyment that's real in the ugly beautiful. In chapter 12 is his conclusion. And we don't have to guess because he tells us, this is my conclusion of my search. Verse 13, now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the duty of all mankind. For God will bring every deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil. That's the responsibly part. That what we do does have consequences and has issues in our life. And so therefore, it's not just do whatever you want, it's enjoy responsibly. But notice where enjoying starts with the fear of God. Fear God and keep his commandments. Now, by fear God, when the Old Testament says that a lot, it's not like being scared of God. It's not like, God, don't say that anymore. It scares me. Don't say that. That's not what it means. To fear God means to respect God, to put God in his proper place, to put God as the center of my life. And then it says obey his commands. It's saying and choose to be on his path, to live his better way. That this book is not a rule book keeping us from enjoying life. It's the opposite. This is the way life works. And so that you find the joy and meaning and fulfillment that I created you to enjoy. It's a major shift of focus to say with all these good things, for them to be what God wants them to be, I'm going to put God at the center of all of them. The way before chapter 12, 13, and 12:1, he says it this way. Remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come and the years approach when you'll say, I find no pleasure in them because you're too old. He's saying, remember your Creator. Now, by remember, it's not like trying to keep forgetting about God. Like, oh yeah, who was that? Todd? No, not Todd. Oh, God, that's right, God. Yeah, that's not what it means. By remember God, it's keeping him front of mind. It's making God your focus. It's the first thought. It's your life, like it's that the focus of my life is God. And I'm looking to life, not in creation and the good things in this world, trying to gain life out of them, but the Creator that then makes all that other stuff make sense. So here's the book of Ecclesiastes, my summary, okay, that's gonna be helpful through the series, is on our own, okay, without God as fallen, sinful human beings on this planet, in the ugly, beautiful of this world, we will put self at the center of our life, all of us will, and make gods out of the good things on this planet, looking to them for life and meaning and fulfillment and joy. He offers a new and better way, where we put self aside, place God at the center, and look to him for life and meaning. And when we do, all these good things fall into their proper place and become increasingly good as he redeems it. That's the key to life in the ugly beautiful. It's to say, I'm gonna connect to my Creator and not make gods out of good things in life, but instead focus my life around him so those good things fall into place. It's what Jesus said when he said, Seek first God's kingdom and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added to you. Everything begins to work when you do that. So there's some implications to this, okay? And when we talk about good things, by the way, that's what the rest of this series is about, is we're gonna be looking at, next week, relationships. We'll look at career and accomplishment. We'll look at like enjoyment. We'll look at material things, all these different things that Solomon's going to talk about to say, how does that work? How do we enjoy the ugly beautiful with God at the center? And how can all that become better? But today, here's some implications. Oh, I do need to share this because what Solomon is saying is, look, before we get to the implications, sorry to jump, that if you and I are really going to enjoy life to the full, it starts with God at the center. And that's why we're commanded, actually in the Bible and Ecclesiastes, we're actually commanded to enjoy life. Like, it's not just God is saying, hey, here's how you can enjoy life. God's going to say, no, I want you to enjoy the heck out of life. Like a command, like don't kill, don't murder, don't steal, don't lie. Enjoy the heck out of life. It's a command. And that's why he says, go, eat your food, chapter 9. There's a bunch of these, but here's one. Eat your food with gladness and drink your wine with a joyful heart. For God has already approved what you do. Always be clothed in white and always anoint your head with oil. That's how they dress for parties. He's saying, dress for the party every day. Make every day a party. Enjoy life with your wife whom you love. Notice, all the days of this meaningless life that God has given you under the sun, all your meaningless days. That's the ugly. It's life in the ugly beautiful. It's dirty. For this is your lot in life, and in your toilsome labor under the sun, whatever your hand finds you to do, do it with all your might. Meaning, enjoy your relationships, enjoy your job, enjoy life on this place where everything's meaningless. That's life in the ugly beautiful. So here's the implications I was talking about. First is, realize that nothing in this life is perfect. Because everything, because of sin and the curse of sin, one day Jesus will come back and fix it, and the new heaven, new earth will be perfect. But in the meantime, life on this, there's not one thing in this life that's perfect. And if you and I, therefore, what this means, once we know that the futility and frustration is in everything, even in really good things, then we can kind of relax our expectations a little bit. So if you go into marriage, let's say, thinking that, oh, I found the perfect person, he or she is just perfect. You know, sometimes I do premarital counseling to talk about conflict and problems you're going to have, and they look at this, couple looks at me like, well, you and Christy maybe, but not us, because, right? And then that doesn't last very long, right? Because all of a sudden, Mr. Perfect, hey, how come Mr. Perfect's leaving his underwear on the floor? And what, that kind of, right? Or why this and why that? Or anything with our career, with a job, with church. If you and I come in expecting perfect and no frustration, it's going to be really disappointing because everything is subjected to futility. And once we understand that, we can kind of relax a little bit, even have a sense of humor about the imperfection of people and church and life and career and job and all that to say, yep, that's the ugly beautiful. It doesn't mean we don't try to make it more beautiful. It doesn't mean we don't try to change it, make things better, or sometimes it doesn't mean you need to make some kind of change or whatever. But even if you make a change, you're just going to another imperfect thing. Right? That's life in the ugly beautiful. So it's kind of, hey, relax. Good things in this life, implication 2, make really bad gods. But that's what we'll tend to do is make gods out of good things. Our relationships, our career, we'll make our life about that and basically our life serving that. And it's not that those things are bad, they're good. God put them in the world to be good. But they make really bad gods. They make a really shallow life. There's just not much there unless God is at the center of it. And when we make God our God, then those good things make sense, which leads me to the last of the implications. Only with God at the center does the ugly beautiful make any sense. And the good news is, with God at the center, the ugly beautiful does actually make increasingly good sense. As we say, okay, I'm going to make God the center of my life, not these good things. And in the imperfection of this world, I'm going to find his redemption and find his joy increasingly and find meaning increasingly and all that. And that's what we're talking about in this series as we look at all these different areas of life. But first, I want us to think about the basic choice that we have at the beginning of this series to say, remember your Creator in the days of your youth, or fear God and obey His commandments. It's making the choice to say, I'm going to make my life not about me, but about God. And instead of allowing these good things to become idols, allowing good things in my life to become the things I'm most devoted to, that I'm looking to for my identity, for my life, I'm going to instead make God my God and let these good things fall in their proper place. And so for some of you, today may be the day where you choose to begin a relationship with God, to actually connect with your Creator. Because that's why Jesus came. He came to this planet to make it possible for you and me to be able to connect with God. He's our mediator. He died on the cross to take the penalty for sin that you and I deserve so that we would not have to be penalized for our sin. We would not know God's justice. He took it on himself. And he offers forgiveness as a gift. He offers connection with the Creator as a gift to be received. And you can begin that relationship today. For those who would say, well, I already have a relationship with God, then today's an opportunity to say, well, then is God really the center of our life right now? There may have been a time where, yep, absolutely. But when I talk about making good things our gods, I promise you, every one of us in this room, because it's sinful human nature, every one of us in this room right now, and I don't care if you know God or don't know God, I don't care if you've known God forever, and you're just incredibly mature in your relationship with Jesus and all that, or you just getting started, doesn't matter. Everybody in this room there are good things in our life right now that we're making our God, that we're making too much of. It's our relationship, our job, our accomplishment, our stuff that we want, whatever. It's just we're making too much of. Too much of our life is about that, rather than that falling into its proper place and our life being about God. So today is a great opportunity to just ask God the question, God, what's working on me right now? What things in this world, what good things in this world am I making a God because they make really bad gods? And would you be my God? And then help me learn how to put that in its place. Because he wants us to enjoy the heck out of life. He really does. So let's bow our heads together. And the way things work around here, usually when I speak, is we hear from God in the Bible, and then we have an opportunity to talk to God in prayer. And right now is that time. And prayer is just talking to God. You don't have to use special words or, use flowery pastor words or anything like that. You just talk. And for some of you, this might be an opportunity to begin a relationship with God and just say, God, you came, you sent Jesus into this world to make it possible for me to connect with you and for the guilt of sin to be removed. And you offer that as a gift, and I receive the gift of your forgiveness and transforming presence in my life. And I want to make my life about you and learn how to navigate the ugly beautiful with you at the center of it. And that's what it means to have a relationship with God. For others, if you're not ready for that yet and you don't have God in your life, this might be just an opportunity to say, God, would you keep just pulling me toward yourself? Keep me curious. And for those who would say, yeah, I have a relationship with God, just ask God the question, God, what good thing in my life am I making too much of? In terms of as a source of joy or meaning or fulfillment that's just out of place. And then just say, God, would you be the center of my life? Would you be the focus of my life? That then makes all that other stuff fall into place and make much more sense. Father, thank you that one day you will come and you'll fix the ugly beautiful, and it'll just be beautiful. In the meantime, help us navigate the rest of it. And Father, I thank you that you want us to know joy and meaning and fulfillment, as imperfect as all that'll be in a fallen world. Thank you that you want us to enjoy the ugly beautiful. And I pray in this series you'd help us learn how. In Jesus' name, amen.